Hello and welcome back to Bicycle Legs and another edition of In Defense Of. Today is going to be a little different because I'm not just looking at one album here that I want to defend. I'm actually looking at an entire era of a band. And in particular, we're going to be looking at the John Payne era of Asia. Now, John Payne joined the band after John Wetton left. Jeff Downes wanted to continue the band, and he brought John Payne in. They did a number of albums together before Jeff Downes broke up the John Payne era of the band to do a reunion of the original Asia. To this day, there are now two Asias. There's Asia with Jeff Downes in it. Unfortunately, John Wetton is no longer with us, which is very, very sad. Steve Howe's no longer in that version of the band either. Then you have Asia featuring John Payne, which has John Payne and a number of other musicians, and they sort of cover not only the original Asia stuff, but the stuff that they did while he was a full member of the band. Now, normally with these In Defense Ofs, I'm arguing that the album in question is not that bad. It's not as bad as people think. It should be reevaluated. With this one, I'm going a little further in as much as I would say that some of the very best Asia music came from the John Payne era rather than the John Wetton era. That's my opinion. I'm going to try and defend that opinion. So let's have a look at the albums that happened during the John Payne era, and it starts off with Aqua from 1992. Still had wonderful album covers during the John Payne era, I must say. This one is by Rodney Matthews. Now this album is a bit of a hodgepodge in as much as a lot of the songs came from stuff that Jeff Downes was doing before he reformed Asia with John Payne. But there's still some really good songs on this album, I think. Who Will Stop the Rain is an excellent song. Love Under Fire is a good ballad. Voice of Reason, Lay Down Your Arms, Don't Call Me, and Aqua Part 1 and 2 are really good. Steve Howe does make guest appearances on this album. Carl Palmer is listed as the drummer, although he only plays drums on a few tracks. I think this is quite a good album. I think it's probably better than one or two of the John Wetton era albums. The next album that Asia did, and they formed a sort of proper band by this stage, was Aria. And this is probably for me the weakest of the John Payne era albums. This is with Jeff Downes, John Payne, Al Pitrelli on guitar, who also played on Aqua, and Michael Sturgis on drums. It's definitely going for a more AOR sound on this album, but then again, the original Asia were definitely heading in that sort of AOR direction as well, I think, especially on the albums after the debut. But there's still a couple of good songs on this album. I think Anytime is a good album opener. The ending Aria is really good. Military Man's quite good. I rather like that one. Summer is good. As I say, my least favourite of the John Payne era. But then we get into a couple of albums that I personally think are better than anything from the John Wetton era of the band, like either before or after the reformation, with the notable exception of the debut album, which I still think is the best thing Asia ever did. We have the album Arena. Again, wonderful artwork. This album had John Payne, Jeff Downes, and Michael Sturgis on drums, and then it had a number of guitarists playing on the album. But it's just wonderful. They're definitely going for a more progressive sound on this album, and I think it's really, really good. You have the opening instrumental Into the Arena, and then you have the title track Arena, which is wonderful. Heaven, not bad. Two Sides of the Moon is really good. The Day Before the War, fabulous song, really, really good. Never is good. Falling, You Bring Me Down, that's one of the best songs on the album, really, really good. And then Belladonna at the end I really like as well. I think that's probably my second favourite Asia album of any era. There was the Archiva 1 and 2. This is not really a studio album as such, it's more a collection of B-sides and unused tracks and demos and that sort of thing. I won't go into a great detail with that one, but there are some interesting songs on there. It's worth a listen. Then you get probably my third favourite Asia album after the debut and Arena, and that is Aura. Again, by this stage, Asia is just basically Jeff Downes and John Payne, and then guest drummers, guest guitarists, including Steve Howe coming back for this one. Elliot Randall on this one, as well as on the previous one, Arena. You even have Tony Levin playing a bit of the bass instead of John Payne. You have a number of drummers, including Simon Phillips, Vinnie Colaiuta, Chris Slade and Michael Sturgis coming back. Again, keeping that sort of progressive sound that they had gone back to for Arena. Awake is a really wonderful opening song. I really love that. Wherever You Are is good. Ready to Go Home is a beautiful, beautiful ballad. It's co-written by Graham Gouldman from 10cc. King for a Day is really good. Free, great track. Sort of mini epic, that one. It's really, really good. On the Coldest Day in Hell is good too. You're the Stranger, The Longest Night, Aura, the title track, is really good too. They always did great title tracks on these albums. Then they formed a proper band again. On this particular album, which is Silent Nation. Again, so you can see they're going for a change of direction again here. They've gone away from the fantasy covers. They're using a photographic cover, albeit one with a bit of a sci-fi twist to it. They form a proper band here. You have Guthrie Govan on guitar and Chris Slade on drums, along with Jeff Downes and John Payne. Not quite as progressive as the last couple of albums, but still some really good music on this album, I think. What About Love is good. Long Way From Home. Blue Moon Monday is really good. The title track Silent Nation is great. The Prophet is really good. Darkness Day. This is some really good music. Again, I would probably rank this better than most of the John Wetton era Asia. I really would. So the critics ignored this. I mean, Asia were never a critic's darling band anyway, but they completely ignored the John Payne era as if it never happened. Most of the fan base don't accept Asia if it doesn't have John Wetton in the band. I think that's a real shame, because as I've said, I think some of the best Asia music is on these John Payne era albums, and I really would urge you to go back and have a listen to some of these, particularly Arena and Aura. I think those two albums are great. Silent Nation too. Some wonderful, wonderful stuff on these albums, and well worth your time. And especially if you've always been the sort of person who think that Asia should have been a more progressive band, I think you'll find that there's more progressive music on those three albums than there are on pretty much any of the John Wetton era albums. So that's my take on the John Payne era of Asia. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'd really love to know, do you like the John Payne era? Is it not something you've really explored? Love to hear your comments. I always read the comments. I love to hear even conflicting opinions, because these are just my opinions. I think this is well underrated period in Asia, and if you disagree, let me know in the comments. If you do agree, also let me know in the comments. Please like, share and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. I'm thankful for everybody who has subscribed so far. If you're new to the channel, please go and have a look at some of my other videos. This is part of a series of In Defense Of. Mostly I'm defending individual albums. I have a playlist for all my shows on the channel. So if you want to look at my other In Defense Of videos, there's a playlist for that. If you want to look at my studio albums ranked shows, there's a playlist for that. If you want to look at my anniversary albums, there's a playlist for that. My favorite albums of all time, my reviews, so on and so on. Playlist for everything. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at bicyclelegs on Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, I'm mostly posting the records I happen to be listening to at the time, as well as channel updates. On Twitter, I talk about anything and everything, but I am definitely trying to give that more of a music focus. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.